In this episode, we are going to connect two worlds that often grow apart inside organizations: how the enterprise governs investments in general, and how it governs investments that involve IT. Beginners often assume that technology funding is a special category that can be managed with its own rules, because the work feels technical and the details seem unfamiliar to many business leaders. That separation is one of the reasons IT spending sometimes looks confusing or controversial, because leaders cannot compare IT investments to other investments using the same decision language. Aligning IT investment management with enterprise investment governance means using the same core disciplines the enterprise already uses for money decisions, such as consistent approval criteria, consistent reporting, consistent accountability, and consistent benefit evaluation. The point is not to erase what is unique about technology, but to make IT investments visible and understandable within the broader system of enterprise decision-making. By the end, you should be able to explain why alignment matters, what misalignment looks like, and how aligned practices make investment decisions more credible and more effective. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyber.author.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. Enterprise investment governance is the way an organization decides where to put its resources to achieve its goals, and it usually covers many types of investments, such as new products, facilities, marketing initiatives, process improvements, and workforce development. These investments may look different on the surface, but they share the same basic questions. What outcomes do we expect? What will it cost? What risks are involved? How will we measure success? And who is accountable? When IT investment management is aligned, it uses that same set of questions and fits into the same decision rhythm, which might include annual planning, quarterly reviews, and exception processes. Misalignment happens when IT uses different language, different measures, and different approval pathways that bypass or confuse the broader enterprise governance model. In that situation, executives may feel they are approving budgets without understanding value, while IT teams may feel they are being judged by people who do not understand technology. Alignment reduces both frustrations because it creates shared expectations and a common decision framework. A major reason alignment matters is comparability, because the enterprise must choose among competing uses of limited resources. If the organization can compare a technology modernization investment against a marketing initiative using a consistent approach, leaders can make better trade-offs. That does not mean the two investments will use identical metrics, but it does mean they should be evaluated through a common lens, such as strategic alignment, expected benefit, risk exposure, time to value, and resource demand. Without alignment, IT investments can become a separate budget universe that grows based on habit rather than evidence. Leaders may then react by cutting IT spending broadly during downturns, because they cannot distinguish high-value investments from low-value ones. With alignment, leaders can be selective, funding what supports enterprise outcomes and pausing what does not, which is healthier than blanket cuts. Alignment also strengthens accountability because enterprise governance typically expects clear ownership and clear benefit evaluation across the life cycle. When IT investments are managed differently, they may be held accountable only for delivery, such as meeting schedules and budgets, rather than for outcomes like reduced processing time or improved customer retention. That creates a loophole where investments can be considered successful even when enterprise value does not appear. Enterprise investment governance practices often require evidence that benefits were realized and sustained, and aligning IT investment management means adopting those practices rather than stopping at go-live. This change can feel uncomfortable at first because it requires measuring outcomes that might be influenced by business adoption and process change. Yet that discomfort is actually a sign of maturity because it recognizes that value is a joint responsibility, not something IT can deliver alone. When governance expectations are aligned, the enterprise is more likely to invest in adoption and change management, which increases the chance of realized value. Another key alignment area is risk, because enterprises often have established approaches to risk oversight, such as risk committees, thresholds for escalation, and consistent reporting categories. If IT risk is managed in isolation, the enterprise can end up with duplicated processes or, worse, blind spots where technology risks never reach the broader risk conversation. Aligning investment governance means ensuring IT investments are assessed for risk in a way that fits enterprise practices, including how risk is described, how severity is communicated, and how mitigation plans are tracked. This does not mean turning risk into a paperwork exercise. It means ensuring the right people see the right risks early enough to make trade-offs. For beginners, it helps to remember that investment decisions are always risk decisions, because choosing one path over another changes the organization's exposure. When IT investment management aligns with enterprise risk practices, leaders can weigh risk and reward consistently across the entire investment portfolio. Alignment also affects how decisions are escalated and how exceptions are handled. Many enterprises have defined levels of authority, where certain types of investments can be approved by a department head, while larger or higher risk investments require executive or board-level review. If IT investment management uses a different set of thresholds or bypasses escalation, it can create governance friction and mistrust. Leaders may discover commitments after they were made, such as long-term contracts or architectural decisions that constrain future options. An aligned approach ensures IT follows the same decision rights, approval gates, and exception paths as other enterprise investments, while still including the technical input needed for quality decisions. This is especially important for commitments that are hard to unwind, like multi-year contracts, platform selections, and foundational architecture changes. When escalation rules are consistent, governance feels fair and predictable rather than political. A practical part of alignment is adopting consistent financial disciplines, including how costs are categorized and tracked. Enterprises often distinguish between capital-like spending that creates a long-lived asset and operating-like spending that supports ongoing operations, even if the exact accounting labels differ by organization. Misalignment happens when IT costs are reported in a way that hides long-term commitments or spreads costs across unrelated lines, making true investment comparisons difficult. Aligned practices encourage full lifecycle cost visibility, including acquisition, implementation, ongoing support, renewals, and eventual retirement. This is where governance becomes economically realistic, because it prevents the common trap of approving a low upfront cost option that creates high recurring costs later. For beginners, the core idea is that alignment helps leaders understand the true economic shape of an IT investment, not just the first-year budget request. When leaders understand that shape, they can plan and prioritize more responsibly. Another alignment area is performance management, because enterprise investment governance often expects consistent reporting that supports decision-making rather than storytelling. Project-level reporting tends to focus on tasks and milestones, but governance-level reporting must highlight outcomes, benefits, risks, and deviations from plan. Aligning IT investment management means building reporting that fits the enterprise's performance conversations, such as quarterly business reviews or portfolio reviews. It also means using consistent definitions so numbers can be trusted, such as what counts as a major incident, what counts as an achieved benefit, and what counts as an at-risk investment. If definitions vary, executives cannot compare performance across investments, and governance devolves into debates about the numbers instead of decisions about action. Alignment is not about making reports pretty. It is about making reporting useful for governance choices, including rebalancing budgets and adjusting priorities. A frequent concern is that aligning with enterprise governance will slow down technology work because people fear more approval gates and more meetings. Alignment can slow things down if it is implemented as bureaucracy rather than as decision clarity. The better way to view alignment is as removing confusion by using consistent decision paths and clear criteria, which can actually speed up approvals for well-justified investments. When the enterprise knows what information it needs, and when IT knows what language leaders understand, proposals move faster because fewer cycles are spent translating or arguing. Alignment also reduces rework, because investments are less likely to be approved based on vague promises that later collide with reality. For beginners, it helps to see governance as a system for making better decisions sooner, not as a system for delaying work. The goal is disciplined speed, where the enterprise moves quickly while staying aligned to outcomes and risk trade-offs. To make this tangible, imagine an enterprise that uses a common investment review process for all major initiatives, requiring a business case, clear benefit measures, risk assessment, and an owner accountable for results. If IT modernization proposals are submitted using purely technical language, approved through separate channels, and reported only with delivery milestones, leaders will struggle to compare them with other investments and will feel disconnected from value. Aligning would mean presenting the modernization proposal using the same investment template and decision criteria, translating technical improvements into enterprise outcomes like reduced downtime, faster product changes, or reduced exposure. It would also mean reporting realized benefits over time in the same way other investments report results, with a clear owner responsible for outcomes. Over time, executives would see that IT investments are managed with the same rigor as other enterprise investments, which builds trust and improves funding decisions. Trust is a real governance asset because it affects whether leaders support necessary long-term work. As we wrap up, aligning IT investment management with enterprise investment governance practices means placing technology investments inside the same decision system the enterprise uses for all resource choices. That alignment creates comparability, strengthens accountability for realized outcomes, integrates risk oversight, and improves reporting so leaders can steer the investment portfolio based on evidence rather than on confusion or politics. Done well, alignment does not remove the technical uniqueness of IT. It translates it into enterprise language and applies consistent governance discipline across the lifecycle. When IT investments are governed like other enterprise investments, leaders can prioritize more intelligently, fund value more consistently, and adjust course sooner when reality changes. If you remember one guiding idea, let it be that alignment is about shared decision language, because shared language is what allows a complex enterprise to make coordinated choices across all of its investments.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.